Good morning, everybody. Betting for breakfast. College football week 13, Rivalry week. We are back, powered by the Sharp app. Getting ready for just a huge week. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner. Dave, it doesn't get any better in college football than Rivalry week. We have a monster game. Everybody's on. Ohio State, Michigan. Can't wait to talk about that one as we get into it. But so many games on the card. The action started yesterday. Took a little bit of a hit with ECU. They didn't come through for us, but we're back swinging again at this card.
Yeah, but I mean, great Saturday. One of the ones that caps out the year of a full slate. Rivalries, like you said, they saved these awesome games for this last weekend. You got the Alabama-Auburn, Ohio State-Michigan, as you spoke of earlier, Oklahoma State, just oozing Florida State, and then you got Maryland-Rutgers, right? Another great, just awesome rivalry that's just budding in the Big Ten. But yeah,
it never ends.
But yeah, it started yesterday. Nebraska, their typical Friday game, the day after Thanksgiving. You had the Egg Bowl on Thursday night with Mississippi State, and then it started off with an L yesterday. ECU just really flat, and really disappointing in their. They had so many opportunities yesterday. Cincy threw interceptions in the red zone, got sacked. It was knocked out field goal.
They just weren't ready. Like, they just weren't ready to punch up like that against a team like Cincinnati. Like, it's the mistake after mistake, shooting themselves in the foot, stupid penalties, and it was just, they're just not ready. They made some strides this year. They'll make some strides next year, hopefully.
They did.
But, they weren't ready for that smoke.
And they weren't aggressive. That was just I was just very surprised that you got to take a shot at Goliath, right? You got to throw everything out there, and it was just a game plan I was very underwhelmed by.
Yeah, you knew pretty early they weren't going to have a lot of success running, and it seemed like they weren't really sure what to do once that happened. Right. They were like, hey, they started running some screens. There's a lot of pressure, but they really didn't try and get vertical down the field, which is tough against Cincinnati. I get that, but you would think that they would have, a more creative game plan than what they showed there. But it's a learning experience for the program. They'll get there. Our man, Arroyo checking in, my guy. He was with us on ECU. Took the heat. He's going to be with us on some more stuff again today, dude. Appreciate you checking in, brother.
They're looking good, though. The Fresnos might be in the Mountain West Championship now with that San Diego State game. I think they need one more thing to help them out, but his Bulldogs looking really good.
Yeah. They're gonna let's talk about some of the coaching things going on, right? Because now we're starting to see the pieces fall. And it's a huge talking point. It's probably going to be chaos, come Monday with that stuff. But a lot of people tying now. It seems like Napier is going to go to Florida. He's going to get that job. And saw reports last night about Matt Campbell and USC. How surprising is that? Matt Campbell just, to me, doesn't seem like a USC guy. Am I reading that wrong, or?
No, you're not, but USC couldn't get anybody. Like, I'm fully convinced they were dipping to second, third tier. And if you look at Matt Campbell's situation at Iowa State, Purdy's going, Breece Hall's going. The guys that got him that Fiesta Bowl win, they're going to have a very emotional day in Ames today, just because this team, as disappointing as they were, did bring them great memories. I think he sees the writing on the wall there. He's kind of squeezed the most he can out of that orange. So I'm not surprised he's going to a place where he could probably have a little more success from a recruiting standpoint. I don't know how much more success you'll have from a football standpoint out there, but he's not that USC rah-rah kind of guy that you can put on billboards. Maybe they need that. I don't know. I don't hate it.
I think it's a great hire because, what does Matt Campbell do? Like, he's a culture builder. He can build a program, and that's exactly what USC needs. Like, USC is a disaster, And
he built from the bottom, right? He's very good in an underdog role.
Yeah.
Today, this year, he showed, as a favorite, he's not as good. But USC is going to be a dog for years to come. So, I agree. He'll build it.
And they need someone who's going to be there for the long term. And I think, Campbell's that guy. I think he can get it done there. Napier to Florida, I think it's very interesting. That's not done yet, but it seems like all signs are pointing in that direction. That'll probably happen Monday, I guess. He seems like the front runner for sure for that job. Florida gets rid of Dan Mullins, sets their eyes on a guy like Billy Napier. Very interesting there. Are they going to be able to compete with him? Because Napier is a guy that it's kind of like the same thing as Campbell. Like, yeah, those guys overachieve, but can he make the jump, do you think, to Florida and be successful there? What are your thoughts with that move?
Oh, well, I think first off, Florida firing Dan Mullen is an absolute 1,000% joke. They were in the SEC championship last year. They were ranked in the top 10 earlier this year. I know they struggled at the end of this year. I know they've tumbled, and we'll get into them a little bit more in one of the games I break down. But it's just, it reminds me of Texas a little bit too. Texas is having one of the worst seasons they've ever had in their history after flipping coaches. This is just a panic situation. I've heard
knee-jerk reaction.
Yep. Yeah, and I've heard it's more of a culture. They just don't have the right culture going on. But Mullen's done well there, man. And he's done well in some other spots. I think this is just a complete overreaction. I think it's going to be a little bit too big.
It's going to be a rough ride.
Yeah. To see them treat a coach that had success and a success in the SEC before Florida, the way this has happened, I wouldn't want to go there. I wouldn't.
Yeah. It'll be very, very interesting to say the least to see how the dominoes fall on Monday. But all signs pointing, I think, that they appear to LSU.
Yeah, they're talking Jimbo, right?
I think they want Jimbo. Do you think Jimbo leaves A&M? I don't think he leaves. Do you?
Well, it's just that's where he grew up. Like that's who Florida State took him from LSU. So I do think there's been, and he already left FSU, so he has a standard of leaving a bigger school for another bigger school. The other rumor out there's another one for LSU too, right? It's
I heard everything with them. I heard Jimbo. I heard Bob. I heard Bill O'Brien.
I know it's Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
well, I saw last night.
Yeah,
they're all following him on Instagram.
Yeah, that's it. All the LSU recruits are now following Riley on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, I think LSU gets someone big. I do. I think that's the one they're going to pull one of those guys. And if I'm Lincoln Riley, I'm running there. Like Oklahoma going to the SEC. Too. They're about to get crushed.
Yeah, I think he sees the writing on the wall. That's what it sounds like to me. Lincoln Riley to LSU would be, chaos. It would be fascinating. It'd be so much fun because where does OU turn from there, right?
Yeah, and then you got what Sonny Dykes, smaller news looking like
TCU. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Vatek has some. Yeah, there's a bunch.
Vatek, Washington, ton. Yeah. There's just a ton of jobs out there, so it's going to be a lot of fun to follow. And it starts there. The work for next year starts there. We start talking about the futures, going into next season and, what coaches we think are good fits and whatnot. And, so it's going to be a lot of fun the way it all plays out. But I think LSU is the one that everybody's kind of waiting around to see, what's going to happen. Because now if they can pull Lincoln Riley, that'll be amazing. I don't even know. Yeah. And it's almost like if they do, they're unbelievable. Like, it's like, holy, LSU. If they don't, I think it's a steep cliff. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be tough.
I do think Jimbo is 1B in that. I think he can bring them immediate success. But after that, I think he
can. I'm just not – I don't know if I'm sold that he's going.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? That's fair. Like, that's kind of the thing. Like, I think he's just like, hey, man, I'm at A&M and I'm going to stay at A&M. Maybe they can pull him away. Maybe they can't. But I don't know, man. The Lincoln Riley thing, though. When I saw they were following him on Instagram, I'm like, maybe this has legs. Like, I didn't think it did, but maybe it does. Maybe he's like, let's get out of here. The Sooners a huge game today. Bedlam tonight, actually. Bedlam against Oklahoma State. So, maybe that has a lot to do with it. Maybe the deal's already done. If the deal is done, who knows? But the Instagram stuff, an interesting angle. But Dave, let's get into some bets. Let's get into some money for the people. We can cash some bets today. I know you got a game, Virginia Tech, that you are targeting in this one. Brennan Armstrong came back against Pitt, looked great. Huge game. Here for both teams. Virginia Tech, one of those programs we talked about that is going to be in the coaching search. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, Virginia Tech, they're really playing for their bowl lives today. But, it's going to be a common theme. We opened the show talking about coaches. In 3 of my games I talk about today, We have games involved with either teams looking for coaches or one, on his way out right at the end of the season. And this is one where I think it's very it impacts the game situation. And what I'll say by that, Virginia Tech, they're just on a spiral downwards. But today, if they win, they can become bowl eligible. I'm not so sure they want to be. They're set up in this rivalry now. I think they need to reset themselves. And I don't know how much interest they'll have in this game. If you look at Virginia Tech, they're not too far apart. You got Blacksburg and you got Charlottesville, a few hours in the middle of the state apart. They're big rivals. The Wahoos, they like to wear their shirt and ties to games. Virginia Tech, they like to wear their flannels and jeans. And it's just, but they butt heads. They hate each other. And that hasn't really shown up on the scoreboard. As Virginia Tech is 16-1 in the last 17 meetings in this matchup. Virginia did break that streak 2 years ago in 2019, right before COVID, not to extend that last year as Virginia Tech got back on the scoreboard and got to 16-1. But today, I think the more motivated team will be the Cavaliers. They are bowl eligible at 6-5. I think 7-5 looks so much better. Like you said, Brennan Armstrong, that was the key. I know you had that game last week, and you had Pitt favored there. And I think your advantage there was, will there be a healthy Brennan Armstrong even if he plays? Well, it looked like there was. And the key to Virginia this year, as we've known, the offense is dynamic. SP Plus has them as 7th overall in the nation in offense. Well, SP Plus has Virginia Tech at 73rd. I'm not sure they can keep up with the explosiveness of the Cavaliers. I think when you put a really, really good offense, I know Virginia's defense is terrible, but I don't think Virginia Tech can really take advantage of that. Last week, they were confused. They benched Burmeister at half, brought in this backup who ran the ball the whole second half, kind of kept pace with Miami, but couldn't the whole way. Miami ended up covering the game, which was like the first time they've covered in a month. I think it happens again. I just don't think they have the firepower. They don't know what to do at quarterback. They don't know what to do at coach. Virginia knows what to do. They're going to throw. They're going to move the ball. They're going to score points. I don't think Tech will keep up. Minus the 7, I'll take Virginia.
Lay the points. I like it, man. I think Broncos going to have them fired up. I agree with you 100%. I think this is their game, and I think that they can win with margin. Because, you wonder from the Virginia Tech side, again, you talked about it, so much confusion. I think him bringing in that quarterback was really his downfall.
Yeah.
When you talk about the coach, like I think them not having any kind of solution there, answer, it's just, they're just like, where's this thing going? It just seems like, a lot of confusion with that program. So they'll try and get a hire, start clean, next season. But, this is a game that's open.
Right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So he was this like quarterback, like guru, right? Yep. He didn't have one the whole time in Virginia Tech. And in the years past, they've been okay at quarterback. Not one under him. So, yeah, I think that was his downfall. I agree with you. 100%.
I think that did him in. It just makes the whole, team program, however you want to cut it, just seem like there's not a direction, right? Like if you don't have that recruit coming in and this is going to be our guy and he's going to be our quarterback, then like, I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's a good move. I think they need to start.
Yeah. And he had time.
Start over.
He had 3-4 years. I'm always a fan of
you
need you to develop and have your own recruiting class, right? That's why I like that fourth year. But it was time. They're stale. They need a switch. And I think today's a tough day for them to really they got to go to Charlottesville. I just don't know how motivated they'll be.
Yeah, I mean, line opened around 7.5, and now, it's still right there. You can get 7 now with Virginia. So, depending on the spot. So grab that, lay the touchdown. Total's been bet up. Of course, it's a Virginia game. The total's going to get bet up to like 63.5. So I'm sure that's going to continue to soar. But lay the 7 with the Cavaliers. I think that's the right side. Like I said, Brennan Armstrong looked great against Pitt. I thought I was on Pitt, in that game. Think they probably still should have covered. Kenny Pickett got hurt in the red zone. They had to bring the backup in, and they were running some goofy plays. That's the most frustrating thing, I think, as a sports bettor. And, I'm sure there are 1,000 examples from yesterday. We talked about ECU, but just the play calling is like mind-boggling sometimes. And like you're watching it, you got money on this game, and you're like, hey, man, listen, like these plays matter, and sometimes these coaches just lose their minds in the red zone. Like, I don't know what goes on, but they try and get too cute. They get away from what got them down there, right? We saw that with ECU, pass, all the way down to the 5-yard line. Then all of a sudden they want to run the ball and they get a bunch of penalties and they get the field goal blocked and the whole thing goes to crap. But You see that? I mean, like red zone play calling, I feel like this year has just been nuts. Like I don't know, man. Maybe it's because we're invested as sports bettors, but it's just been absolutely crazy. But lay the points with Virginia 7. Brennan Armstrong, he's gonna run it up, and I just think this is a game where it means a lot more to Virginia than it does Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech looking to turn the page. Not that these kids don't get up, because I think these kids. I think this week out of all weeks, these kids try and get up as much as they can. For these games, against their rivals. But I just think that they're going to start pouring on the points, and it might be, no mas from Virginia Tech. So lay the points with the 7. Dave, let's get into the big game. This is the game everybody is talking about in Ann Arbor, Michigan and Ohio State, the Buckeyes. I think the line in this one, Dave, is just fascinating when you talk about it. This thing opened at 6. It got bet up all the way up to like 8.5. Now you're seeing money come back the other side, down to 7 in some spots with Ohio State, against the Michigan team. And it's a huge game for Harbaugh, and you have that element too. I just think that this is, a matchup. When I look at handicapping this game, I think the important part is, everybody was like, wow, Ohio State's laying, 18, 19 points, against the Michigan State team, right? And then, they win with margin. They blow them out. Now they have to go on the road. And it's like, we're shaving like 10, 11 points off with Michigan. And I understand Michigan's defense is good, but I don't know if they're that good. Like, it's going to be cold, like, weather, all the intangibles. The crowd's going to be crazy playing in Michigan's favor, but Ohio State's had their number in the past.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Last week, I mean, what surprised me, and I leaned to Michigan State, is we knew it's a bad matchup for Michigan State, being the worst pass defense. And they showed not only they're worst, they're probably one of the worst pass defenses I've seen in my life. Like, not this year. I mean,
they could cover me.
Yeah. And I just thought they were going to mix it up and play some more, different styles, some blitzes. And I know they tried one or two here and there and didn't get home, but you can't sit back and let Stroud just pick you apart. Not with that receiving core and not with your coverage ability. So that was surprising. I think you'll see a little bit more of that today with Michigan. I do think they will bring the blitz at Stroud. I think they will make him make some quick decisions. And I think Ohio State won't have as much success as they had in recent weeks. I know that's easy to say, but I do think they're going to struggle today. But I think that's going to be good for Ohio State. I think they're going to need this type of game and in this type of environment to see if they can really match up with teams like Georgia in the playoffs. So I think they're going to be tested. But what I keep coming back to, and I think you're there too, I mean, it's not just the numbers that Ohio State's been putting up and why I think this should be even a larger spread. It's the Michigan coaching and the advantage that Ohio State has against them. Harbaugh, I mean, God, 2-13 straight up versus ranked teams. Top 10, I'm sorry. 4-11 ATS. The last 3 matchups in Ann Arbor, Ohio State's won by double digits at 29, 11, and 29. They go in there and they smash Harbaugh. And I just don't understand why this spread's only sitting at 7.5. Like I said, I think it's tight for a little while. But I just think Ohio State will get punched and stand up. I think they're going to stay up.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's look at the numbers a little bit. So here we go. Ohio State ranked 2 in the college football playoff rankings. Michigan 5. As I said, opened at -6. The total at 66. So that gives us an applied score of 36-30. Dave, when I look at that implied score, I can see Ohio State getting the 36. Not sure I can see Michigan getting the 30. So that kind of tells you, a little bit where I'm leaning in this one. But against the spread, and that's the thing, right? Michigan making money with everybody all year, 9-2 against the spread. And we look at margin of victory below that, right? Ohio State, one of the top teams in the country, winning with margin, 28 points. But margin against the spread, only 7. You see Michigan with the 8. They've been a better team against the number. But I just think that's because, Michigan snuck up on a lot of teams this year. The main narrative was, is this the end for Harbaugh? And instead they turned it around, had a huge successful season. Net yards per play, explosive plays plus 36 for Ohio State. So that just shows you explosive plays, 20 yards or more. Ohio State has 36 more this season than they allow. And then you see, the total 6-5 to the over, and Michigan 6-5 to the under. So, not a big deal when you look at those over under numbers, but I do think that the total's probably a little bit high in this one. I expect it to be, a lower scoring game, but I do expect Ohio State to still have offensive success. I mean, you look at Michigan, they let up 33 to Michigan State. They let up, who did they let up? They let up 29 to someone else. I think it was Nebraska. Not a great offense.
That's their one game they've let up over 400 yards. It was Nebraska.
Yeah. And it's like, so what's going to happen here? Like, do we really expect them to shut out Ohio State? Yes, they have the pass rush, but there's ways to scheme around that when you have weapons like Travion Henderson out of the backfield. You have wide receivers like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson that can get off press immediately. I don't know, man. I think the 7, if this thing, I didn't want to bet this game because I'm like, this is tough, man, because the line tells you Michigan. The line tells you
it does.
And it's like, but if we get to 6.5, I have to pull the trigger on Ohio State. If we get under 7 before kickoff, I'm probably going to play a little Ohio State, even though I didn't want to.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Michigan stat line too. Like, what offense have they played this year? I mean, the name.
Right. Look at
wow, that offense is so good. Peyton Thorne put up 37. Like you said, Nebraska put up 29. They're only out of conference game that was of any viable Power 5 team was Washington. We see how bad they are. Like, they're horrendous,
right?
And they haven't played anybody. Wisconsin, not a good offense. So it's really skewed when you start to think about Michigan's defense. They haven't been tested versus an elite offense all year, and I think that's going to hurt them in this game. I think I agree. I think that those numbers can sometimes, fall a little bit in the clouds because of who they played.
Yep. My guy Adam checking in. Unless Michigan's added to their offensive attack, you don't get it either. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is are they going to be able to keep up? And we saw that against Michigan State, right? And that was kind of like part of my handicap going in is that if Ohio State gets up on them early, there's no way back for Michigan State, and there's no way back for Michigan either. Like, they're just going to get buried. It's just going to be an avalanche. So they have to keep the score in front of them. They have to keep this game close if they're going to have success. And that's a hard thing to do against an offense with C.J. Stroud, Travion Henderson, with all these weapons. Here's the thing. This is an important part too, Dave, that I wanted to kick off about this game. A lot of people say, well, if you look, Penn State played Ohio State close, right? And Michigan, beat Penn State. So, therefore, we're doing matchup math and, this game should be close. But if you look at how Penn State is constructed, right? Like, they're a team that, can't run the ball at all. They're one-dimensional on offense. They can throw the ball. And listen, if you have like an explosive guy like Dotson, you're going to be able to get yards against Ohio State. We saw Oregon, be able to have some success running the ball against the Ohio State defense. I'm not a huge Ohio State defense guy. Like, I think they're going to have a hard time in the playoffs. But I just think against Michigan, against this team, that the strength of their offense is their running game, and those guys are banged up. Blake Corum banged up. Like, those guys are not 100% healthy. It's just tough to match up this way. Like, I don't think that they have the necessary weapons to exploit, the Buckeyes defense.
I agree. And history tells us something. Buckeyes 9-4, last 13 against the Wolverines, 6-2 in the Big House, ATS. They just dominate the series every which way. And obviously, talked about the Harbaugh matchup earlier. That's just, the history. But the game on the field today, I just think it's a big gap between these two teams. I'm with you. I'm scared of it myself because this line to me should be a lot more.
I thought we were getting double digits, which maybe I'm out myself, but I was texting people after the, when it was 1,000-0, Ohio State was winning, and I'm like, we're getting an incredible number with Michigan next week. I'm thinking it's going to be double digits, and I'm like, hey, home dog, double digit dog. underestimating Harbaugh. Let's hammer it. And that thing opened at 6, and I was like, whoa.
What?
Like, that is not what I expected. And, getting back to the Penn State matchup when, Ohio State played Penn State, another thing, too, is that Penn State's secondary is very, very good.
Yeah.
So, like, they can handle and Ohio State still put up 34 on them, but, like, they can handle those, wide receivers that the Buckeyes have, at least slow them down a little bit. I don't think Michigan has that. Like, Michigan's pass defense, I think, is engineered through their pass rush, with Aiden Hutchinson and guys like that. And if they can get to Stroud and make him uncomfortable, maybe Stroud, gets shook on the road in a huge game. I don't know, but I think it's a big if, man, especially if there's scoreboard pressure coming from the other side.
Yeah, I have seen them at least unleash Cade McNamara on the other side a little bit more in recent weeks. I have seen a little bit better play out of that position. But I wish I would have seen
good against Michigan State. But you know what? Me and you look good against Michigan State against that pass defense, man.
Exactly. And
we'd be like Rice in Montana.
10 yards open, streaking in the red zone. You never see anybody open for 10 yards in the red zone, but Michigan State, you do. No, he's been a little better. So I just wish I would have seen more from him this year because they really kept the handcuffs on him and really tried to play this power game, which I don't blame them. Again, coming into the season, we started our show back in August, and I had a little bit of love on Michigan. I thought they'd be better than the market had, and that's why you've seen they've performed their expectations against the spread. I didn't think 9-1, 10-1. No, nobody did.
No. I was team total over, but I wasn't like this.
Yeah, which was 7. Right now, to me, we're just getting, I don't know, we're getting carried away a little bit with recent. If we went back at the beginning of the season, matched these two teams up and said on, this date, what would the spread be? It probably would have been 14 or 15 before the season. Now we're just getting it down because Michigan's won some games against, and they've won some games, impressively. Look, they have, but I just don't see.
I think it's a tough task. I just think it's a tough task, man.
Now the whole thing is Ohio State, right? They struggle against Nebraska too. They struggle against Oregon. But I think they've erased those. Teams can get better. They don't have to revert back to those games. They can get better, right?
Yep. I just don't see any way Ohio State doesn't get into the 30s, like high 30s, and then it's like, okay, like how's Michigan going to get there? Like I just think it's tough, man. It's tough. And like I said, to me, the main thing is, everyone's like their defense is good. I think Michigan's defense is a little overrated, and it's really engineered by the pass rush. And there's just ways to scheme around that. Ryan Day is incredible at adjustments, especially at halftime. Might be Ohio State live line second half. If you don't get, under the 7, for kickoff. But if we get under the 7, I'm probably going to take the Buckeyes.
Yeah. And with all that said, I'm not touching the game.
I don't have a bet in the account on the game yet. Yeah,
I would probably take Michigan at this line because everything we said is Ohio State, and I can't understand why it's 7.5. So
yeah, it's goofy. Yeah, not touching it yet. But we're gonna see if we can get if they might force my hand. If they get it to 6.5, they're gonna force my hand. They're gonna have to bet Ohio State. But I do like them to win this game. And
would you tease it?
It's a very real pot. No, I don't tease.
You don't mess. Yeah,
nah, I'm not messing with that.
I don't
because it's just too unpredictable. Like college is too unpredictable.
Yeah, I don't,
man. Like it's hard enough to do that in the NFL. I think.
Yep, I agree. Games that are tightly banded NFL. The margin in college is so unpredictable, and the talent level so much wider that I agree. I don't tease in college. I don't.
Yeah, absolutely wild. But let's get into some more winners. Dave, I know you got another one lined up. Going to be a tremendous game. Starts at noon. The Ohio State Michigan. So that's the perfect way to start off your day. But next one, another massive rivalry game that has a lot of implications, a lot of things going on. Both very unique seasons for both these teams in different ways. Florida State and Florida. The Seminoles getting 3 on the road at Florida. Obviously, Florida, no coach. A lot of people are pointing, Billy Napier to get that job. How do you see this one playing out? You think it's one last stand for the Gators, or you think the Seminoles are a live dog here?
Well, it's such an interesting game. It's awesome. I'm wearing my Deion jersey today. But that
there you go.
Which way I'm going to go. I've picked against Florida State so many times in this season and years past. You get a good pulse on the team. You feel a good way. That's not the way Florida State's been this year. They started 0-4. They've won 5 out of their last 7. Some good wins recently up at BC, home to Miami, comeback wins. They've started to really, rally around the head coach, Mike Norvell, there and really start to play some good football. It started with the defense and then also with the rushing game. They've been very successful creating havoc on defense. Pretty solid in the rush defense, too. That's been a good reason for their resurgence. Their pass D is a little iffy, but the rush game's really important. And when you look at Florida State, in their 5 wins this year, 224 rushing yards a game, and their 6 losses, 113. So you slash that in half. If they can't get the ball moving on the ground, it's going to be a long day. But on the other side, you got Florida moving in a different direction, right? Lost 4 of their last 5. Really could have been all 5 if they didn't beat one of those. I forget it. Samford, who they let up like 42 in the first half against. They had to rally and come back and beat. Let's listen to Florida's wins this year, though. They've beaten FAU, South Florida, Vanderbilt, Samford, a 1AA, and Tennessee. Tennessee's the one team that you could say is a solid team. Those other 3 are ranked below 100 in SP Plus and all other, big metric rankings. They haven't beat anybody this year. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And then Florida State, on the other hand, has. I mean, those games we mentioned earlier, they also beat North Carolina. They hung in with Clemson. Should have covered that game. Maybe even should have won that one outright. Could have won Notre Dame earlier this year, too. They've been tested. I think 2 teams in different directions. I really like Florida State today, but the big reason is that rush offense. Florida's rush defense is terrible. They've let up a ton. I know Missouri ran all over them. Their success rate on defense in the rushing game is 88th in the country. And what that means is teams are getting what they want. When they go after, they're getting what they want against Florida. In the last 5 games, they've allowed 206.6 yards per game. Now, people will point, hey, firing Dan Mullen, teams have rebounded this year. I know when Helton got fired at USC, they won the next week against Wazoo. Teams have rallied around. Florida State's lost the last 2 in this rivalry, 41-17 and 41-14. But the last time they won was in 2017 when Florida fired Jim McElwain, their head coach at the time. Florida State came in and won 38-22. They got another opportunity today, coming off another firing to win down the swamp. And the biggest point is bowl eligible. This gets Florida State into a bowl. I know it would get Florida into, but I don't think they want to get there. I think they want to start their offseason soon. So give me Florida State, the team rising versus the team declining. Seminoles, let me rub the Bobby Bowden ball just for good luck back there.
There you go. Give him some good luck, man. I love it. Especially you get the key number 3. I looked at this thing at the Open and I was like, man, I wonder if it's going to get there. I think a lot of people fading Florida this week. Adam checks in. Cease. Hard to pick because it's a big rivalry, and it is. So it's hard. These are kids. It's hard to, gauge how they're going to react. You know what I mean? Like, are they going to get up for this game? Are they not? I think Florida's going to come to play, but I just think this game means so much more for Florida State. Very happy for that program, everything they got going on. It was just a tough run for them lately, and for them to get into a bowl, I think makes all the difference for that program. So I like it. I think Seminoles definitely live. I'm going to pivot to another team that I think that Dave has just packed it in, man, and that's the Stanford Cardinals. Yeah. I'm laying the big number today with Notre Dame. I got it at the Open at -17. Sharp app members got that number as well. It has continued to rise, that number, and I still think that it's warranted. I would play this thing all the way up to probably 21, like depending on what number you can get. Right now it looks like you're seeing 20 and a half. Yeah. I would do that for sure. Like I would just, I don't think that they're going to have any problems here with Stanford. Stanford's a team that, after that big upset of Oregon, it's been all downhill. That was kind of like their last hurrah. Recruiting going down, just a lot of things going, poorly for David Shaw in that program. And, I think that this is a game. You look at the Irish, they've continued to win with margin because they know it's at stake here, right? Brian Kelly's no dummy. He knows how the committee works. He's got to go out there and he's got to beat teams into the ground as much as they can. And I think they go out and pulverize Stanford in this one. I really, think that this one's going to be ugly early. Stanford rush defense, very suspect. Notre Dame just wants to run it down your throat. That's what they want to do every game, and they're going to do that with Williams and all those guys. So I think it's just going to be a huge game for the Irish. Like I said, you can still get it at 20.5. I think that number is good. But Notre Dame, a lot at stake in this game. They have to win by a big number if they're going to have a shot to get into this college football playoff, which I still think they do have an outside shot. It'll be a lot will depend on how things go today in Bedlam with Oklahoma State, but I think Notre Dame definitely live in the college football playoff. So lay the points. They're going to win by a big margin. It's going to be a runaway. The Irish, gives us the luck we need to cash in today.
Last 3 weeks, Stanford's lost by 45, 31, and 30. And they weren't playing Notre Dame, Alabama, US, the good teams, Georgia. They were playing some rather okay teams. Oregon State, which I know I'm a big fan of. Cal lost 41-11 to Cal. They've talked about mailing it in.
And Cal's another team that's just still happy to run it all day if they can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's another team built the same way.
Oregon State is too. Oregon State's a very good rushing attack, and those teams just dominated. I can't see Notre Dame scoring under 35 in this game. So I do feel I think the 20.5 is still another nice number. I do. I like the pick.
Yeah. I think it's still good. Listen, I'm very comfortable with the 17. That's why you guys got to get involved. Join the Sharp Bets team. We got about, 10, 15 handicappers across all sports, just, firing off bets every day. You'll get access to the models for, college football, NFL, basketball, whatever you're betting. The Sharp app, has all those models there for you. So make sure you join the promo code. You get a free 30-day access. You can see it below in the ticker. You can also see it in the YouTube description. So, Dave, one more winner before we get out of here. And it looks like Tulsa taking on SMU. I'm surprised SMU is still alive.
Yeah.
After getting blown to smithereens against the Cincinnati Bearcats, another team that is trying to convince the committee that they are playoff worthy. But SMU, real poor performance. The wide receiver was kind of called out. I was on that side. Second week in a row, I got burned by the Bearcats this week. But, the receiver was, deemed inactive right before the game, kind of threw everything, down the crapper, so to speak. But, SMU now takes on Tulsa. Tulsa getting 6.5 as a dog in this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, simply put, SMU was down 48-0 last week. They closed out 48-14, but I mean, it was long going early for them.
They screamed uncle very early in that one.
They did, and that just shows you their lack of defense, but also their lack of offense when up against better competition. And actually, the better competition might come back again today. Tulsa, not great offensively. I'm not a big fan of their quarterback, Davis Brin. He's 15 TDs, 14 interceptions. They're not very good offensively, but defensively is where they're second in the American Athletic with 21 points per game. So now SMU's up against that, better defense. And what we saw last week, this little train that they have, this offensive system that they have under Sonny Dykes that may get a little bit slowed down. And then there's that rumor that he is going to TCU, as we spoke earlier. And how much focus do you really have in this game? They can't win the Athletic. They can't get the championship game. That's set. It's Houston versus Cincy next week already. Where's the motivation? They're 8-3. The motivation's on Tulsa side. They're 5-6. A win today drives them to bowl eligible. Tulsa is great in the underdog situation. If you listen to Betting for Breakfast last year, Tulsa, they were winning money for us every single week. Really like them in those dog rolls. They're 13-3 ATS in the last 16 as a dog. And then look at what they've played this year. They barely lost to Oklahoma State earlier in the season. We know what Oklahoma State is, 28-23. Played a great game against them. They lost 41-20 up at the Horseshoe, Ohio State, but it was 27-20 in the fourth quarter. Ohio State scored 2 touchdowns in the last 6 minutes to stretch that out. And then
that was when everybody was like, Ohio State's broken. They're all they're never getting fixed.
Yeah, at 5-6. And then they lost to Cincy 28-20. They lost to Cincy, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, 3 of the top 6 teams in the nation, and they're 5-6. this team's dangerous. They're dangerous from a sneaky, like they compete, they play hard. I think they're going to lay it all on the line today. I think they're dangerous from an outright perspective as well. But I'll take the 6.5 happily as they love this underdog role. And maybe, just maybe, they get a little bowl eligible today and shut down that SMU team that really just doesn't have much to play for it and maybe losing their head coach.
Absolutely love it. Tulsa, you talked about it. Hey, maybe sprinkle a little bit on the money line. It's around 195,
It's
210.
live.
You can get it in some spots live on the money line. Another team, we got our guy checking in here, Florida State. He likes them live there. And
Yeah.
I think I would be surprised Florida State wins that game outright. I'm going to be serious. You look at it, they're probably, you get them plus 140 in some spots, around 135 on the money line. But the three is good. So, you might not want to go all the way on the money line,
Right.
but, sprinkle it up, put a little money line action in there. Because listen, at 140, 135, that's probably applies like I want to say a 40% win probability. So
yeah,
I think that their chances of winning are greater than 40%. So I think it makes a little bit of sense there, to play a little bit of money line with Florida State. Tulsa, obviously, that's a little bit more of a long shot, but the 6.5 is a good number. We expect them to cover for sure. But Dave, before we get out of here real quick,
let's do
give
one
me
for
your
Cease.
prediction.
I was going to do one for Cease. Penn State, Michigan State. What do you like there?
Oh, I like Penn State. Michigan State is everybody's sick.
Yep.
That came out today. They all got the flu.
Yeah.
I think Penn State's going to roll today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the right side. So I was just curious. But that's the side of -2. I think that thing's moved a little bit, but I still feel,
you saw money come in today.
Yeah.
I think it might be higher. I think money came in. I think Penn State took a lot of money because of that report. If you got it earlier in the week, they're like all sick. It was like, it's a lot of people, man. So I think a lot of people are getting off Michigan State. I liked Penn State before that, to be honest with you. I just think they're the better team. I think Michigan State, Mel Tucker, a great story, but Penn State's, really, I just think they're the better team. I think that's.
Oh, it's 4.5 now. Yeah, it flew.
4.5. Yeah, it got steamed. Yeah, I was just looking it up, but I had it on the money line odds, so I was kind of switching it around. But definitely think today's a win for Penn State. If you got it earlier in the week, you probably got a winner. So hopefully the Nittany Lions can take it home. But before we get out of here, Dave, give me your prediction right now today for the 4 playoff teams.
Today. Well, you can lock in Georgia.
Well, just who do you think it's going to be right now? We'll do this again next week. We'll readjust and do it again next week.
Lock it, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. I think even Bama losing in the SEC championship game. They struggled last week again, but I still think they're just going to lock in those 3. Just lock them in, and I'm going to say Cincy. I am. I think they're after yesterday. I just think they're going to find a way to. And what they want to do is the committee's going to say, okay, Cincy, I'm going to go feed you to the dogs. They're going to get smoked, right? They're going to get absolutely annihilated.
They're going to be 20-point dogs.
Yeah. And then they're going to say, non-Power 5 teams, never will give you the Cincy example for the next 20 years. I think that's what it's going to be. I think this is the year that there is a decided gap between, you can tell me Oklahoma State, you can tell me Notre Dame, you can tell me some other teams. It's not like they would fare any better against Georgia either. So I think they can feed one to the Wolves and use that as an example.
I think that's a great point. I do think Bama gets in. I'm with you. I think Bama's going to win the SEC championship. I think that we're going to see the SEC officials get very creative to make sure that Bama gets into this playoffs. And I think that's going to start. If they win the SEC championship, Georgia's still going to get in. They know that.
Wow.
So I think that Alabama's live in that game. They're getting 4 against Georgia. I think they're live. Listen, we watch these SEC officials, dude. They have no chill. They don't care. They're just like very blatant about if they want a game to go a certain way, it goes a certain way.
Well,
and
then
this is their last chance. So I think if Bama wins that game and they get in, then you got Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, and I think it's going to be Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State can take care of business today against the Sooners.
And so my question to you, Georgia loses in the SEC championship. Where do they get seeded?
That's a good question.
3?
It's a real good question. They might be in that 2-3. They probably bump Ohio State to 1. And then do they do the rematch with Bama?
And Bama's a one-loss SEC champion that beat Georgia, so they got to be 2, right?
Yeah, rematch.
Unless you bump Bama to 1.
How do you put Bama over Ohio State, though?
You beat Georgia.
When they have a loss to A&M. Yeah, they beat Georgia. Maybe they do that to avoid that matchup. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you still end up getting Bama and Oklahoma State.
So which I think Oklahoma State, if they win today, they get Baylor next week, is it?
I'm not positive. I think
it
so,
might be. I think it might be Baylor in the Big 12. Well, Baylor's still got to win, but then Baylor has the tiebreaker over Oklahoma, obviously. So I think it's them.
They'll smash Baylor.
They already did.
I think they beat them by 3. Yeah, but I just feel like Baylor's like Oklahoma State light. Like they want to play the same type of game. They're just not as good. You know.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I struggle with Oklahoma State. I like them.
Yeah, Todd checking in with the assist. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, I was pretty sure. But I thought Oklahoma State won that one by 10 or 11, like 24-13. But it was either or. I struggle with Saunders at quarterback. I really do not like his game. I hate it, actually. Yeah. I think it's terrible. But that defense is nasty.
He's got I'll tell you what, he's got a mean handoff.
Yeah.
That's all they need, man. That's all they need, bro. He's like, boop.
Yeah.
You know? But again, against the, it'll be interesting. I want Oklahoma State in there. I like their defense. I think, we get some good defenses in this playoffs. Could be a little bit more fun. Some of these underdogs might be live, but I agree with your sentiment in that since he gets in, I think it might open at like 17, 18, but it's going to get bet to 20. I think they're going to close into like 20-point dogs at Georgia. And I don't think it'll be enough. I think they'll make an example out of them for sure. Yeah, I don't think it'll be enough, dude. This isn't Temple, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not. You're not going to play Temple in the playoffs, but I don't know. I've been giving Cincy a hard time. I don't like them. Listen, they beat me. I lost money to them. I bet against them the last 2 weeks. So what do you want from me?
I like them. For the record,
that's just how it is.
For the record, I like them. I just don't think. I just think. They're not up to that level of competition. It's just not.
I liked them last year a lot more. I just think that this year, I honestly believe that this year it's not warranted. Like last year, I agree. I thought they were strong. I thought that, hey, they should have been in the playoffs. They played Georgia tough in the Peach Bowl, and granted, it was a depleted Georgia team with opt-outs and all that stuff, but still, I thought they made a statement. But I thought that team was much better than this team. This team this year just doesn't give me a ton of confidence. They've just been playing with their food with bad teams, man, all year. And it's just if you want to be a group of 5 team and get into the playoffs, you have to win with margin and you have to win convincingly. And, I don't think they've done it. Yeah, I don't think they've done it, man. So I think they're going to try and find a way to get them out of here. But listen, I got to get out of here as well. So let's wrap this up. Everybody, I hope everyone has the best of luck. Hope we cash all your bets. A huge week. I can't wait for the conference championships. It has been an incredible season. Thank you so much for hanging with us, everybody, in the chat. Hopefully I got to all you guys, Todd, Arroyo, Adam Rosenberg, everybody hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We will be back next Saturday for more college football action. Hopefully everybody wins their bets and stays on the right side of the ledger. I'm Mark Drumheller. This is Dave Gleckner. Until next week, enjoy the games.